You're not going to always be well liked. You're not going to always be accepted. But if you're taught subconsciously by society that you are graded on how much you're paid, your
Mm,
performance, and are you pretty? Are you attractive? Or do you have the look? Then you're going to be aiming for the wrong things in life.
mm,
What our spiritual African mindset would teach us, and that is to value family, to value community, to value nature, to value your gifts and your talents, to value your promises that you make to people, to value communication, to value the aging, to value the sick, to value the marginalized, to value people, to be there for them. But when you are scattered by zip codes,
mhm,
you lose that connection
mhm.
and you start to become, you become selfish. It's called a cell. You everything is about how I look at, we're just selfish. We live in this
Oh, I love
individual.
it.
Yeah, we just live in this. It's like
Perfect.
I got to get mine. I'm gonna get mine, and it's all about me. And we
Yeah.
don't realize we're teaching that to our children because when I was a young girl, we sat at the table. We had to set the table.
Mm,
Now kids are sitting in front of the TV. They're sitting on the couch. You got to teach them communal. That's a ritual to sit at the table.
that's
That's a
right.
ritual to say a prayer together. That's a
Right.
ritual. When I was a young girl, I had to ask, could I get up from the table? Now I look back and I'm like, you know what? That taught me respect.
Mm,
I didn't call adults by their first names.
mm.
I didn't get into adult conversations.
Okay.
I didn't spend the night over people's houses randomly. You
Mhm,
know, there were just certain things that you learned to respect. I had to go to church. I didn't understand it, but I had to go. So I have respect for religions. I don't understand all of them. I have my own mindset, my own way I relate to God, but I don't judge. I don't condemn because I was exposed to many different ways of life. I was exposed because of travel
mhm.
that it opened my mind to have respect. And I think children, you know, when children get to go places and be around other people and other religions and other cultures and other languages, it will teach them not to be so about it's just about me. You're going
Right,
to learn about community. You're going
right.
to understand that. I remember as a young girl, I learned about Albert Schweitzer, and that was the beginning of me seeing life beyond Compton, California. And I was like, this man is helping people and he's caring about people. What is that? What does that look like? And it stirred something in me. And I asked my mother to take me to the house of the junior blind. I said, I want to go help. I want to go help blind children.
Mm,
And I only did it one day. I came home hysterical because back in those days, if a child was handicapped visibly, well, now we don't say handicapped, but differently abled. You didn't see that. You didn't see young girls pregnant. They went off to a different school.
mm,
You didn't see children that were blind. You didn't see so by that separation, you don't develop empathy.
mm, mhm. To get
So
to see them on all the layers that they are as
yeah,
people.
and so you start to measure yourself based on what you see in media, based on what they put on the magazine cover, and so you're striving for this perfection. You
Mhm,
strive, and life is not perfect.
mm-mm,
It's not
mm-mm,
perfect. And
mm-mm,
so, I'm the founder of my own 501(c)(3), which is Women on the Grow. And at one point, we were giving gift cards to mothers that are isolated and overwhelmed because they have autistic children. These
mhm,
mothers don't have much of a life.
mm,
These mothers don't have much support. And it was me tapping back into that mindset. Wait a minute. I'm blessed to have healthy children. I'm blessed. I get to travel. I'm blessed. I can order out. I'm blessed. I have a life. There are a lot of people are very isolated and overwhelmed as single parents or parents or people taking care of their parents and they
mm,
don't have any help.
Mhm.
uh, parents whose children are not healthy. I know several people who've lost young children to cancer,
Mm.
and they have to still function.
Right.
So
Right.
we need to create more of a sense of community. And I just do it in my little garden. This is Women on the Grow is my little garden, and I try to water it and get rid of the weeds and give it plenty of sunshine, give it plenty of love, because I think the more we reach back, it's easier to move forward.
That's right.
I got
That
to remember, I should never forget the struggles. I should never forget the accomplishments. I should
Mhm.
never forget the sacrifices. I should never forget the tears that were shed. I should never forget the people that who prayed for me as a little girl. I don't know, but I'm sure there were prayers. I'm sure
Mhm.
that people looked at me and said, "Oh, she's so cute. And, oh, I hope you'll be okay, and I hope you won't make a lot of mistakes, and I hope you marry somebody that'll love you. I hope you know." I'm sure somebody prayed for me, just
Mhm.
as I am praying for children and the women in our tribe. We share pictures and videos of our grandchildren, and we're like, oh, look at, and it's like we want them to have a good future, but they
Mm.
need to know our stories.
Right. That's right. To know who
They
we are, right? To know who they are.
exactly, because
They
one day we'll be their ancestor, and they need to be able to say, wow, I didn't know you did that. And so I think, remember at the retreat, Melinda, one of the youngins asked the elders, they said, what is the one thing? I think it was you that said,
the
what was the
generation
one?
the
Huh?
generation curse,
Yeah, you
the
said, what is the one generational cycle or curse that you wish would be broken? And I think it was Dr. Rosie who said that we would stop hiding our secrets, that we would tell the truth.
yes. Yes. She made a really profound, she said a lot of profound things, but she said, my elders would tell me, keep your skirt down. She said, I'm wearing pants. What do you mean by keep your skirt down?
Remember, I said they tell us what, don't do it, but they don't tell you why. Just like
Yes.
my mother would say, no, you're dating and he can't buy your dinner. Why can't he buy me dinner? No explanation.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, you're going to eat at home. My stepdad would tell us, nope, he can't do it. What? And I'm thinking, well, that's nice. He wants to take me to dinner. No one told me that there comes an obligation with that at a young age, that the young boy's hormones are raging, and now you are entering into a transactional relationship. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're and if you're not understanding that, because nobody told my mother, nobody told her, so she didn't tell me anything about coming into womanhood. The school did. They gave us little pamphlets. My mother never sat me down. And then as I became a woman, I asked her about it. She said, honey, nobody told me. She said she
Mm-hmm.
remembers the first day she had menstruation. She said she was down by the river, and she said she took her underpants and threw them away. She was scared.
Wow.
Nobody told her what was happening. So she
Right.
didn't tell me what was happening. And then the school gives me this little pamphlet, but there was no talk. There was no, when I got married, I'm thinking I'm going to get this talk. There was no talk. When I had my first son, I still have a picture of me holding my first son, the one who's in glory right now. And I'm sitting there, and you could see this bewilderment on my face. Like, what am I supposed to do with this baby?
Mm.
What am I supposed to do with this baby? And I'm thinking she's going to come over and talk to me. She had nothing to say, because that was not the norm then, to have those real conversations. The
Yeah.
first time I had a very bad argument with my husband as a young bride. Called mother, she had nothing to say.
Mm.
So I had to learn what self-esteem looks like. I had to learn how to stand up for myself. I had to learn that, marriage is more than just romancing and dating. It's about, are you equally yoked? Do you know who you are? Have you done some things on your own first? Do you know what you're willing to tolerate and not tolerate? Do you know how to communicate? Do you know how to manage money together? Are you dreaming together? Are you working together? Have you decided who's going to do the dishes and who's going to do the washing, and what will be the big purchases? Have you? None of that was discussed.
Right. Same here.
None
Same.
of that.
Yeah, same
So
here.
for many years I was resentful, and for many years I blamed that as for the reason why I fell short on some things. Like, well, shoot, nobody told me.
Right. Right.
Then as I started to mature and I picked up my spiritual assignment to be a leader for women. It's like, oh my God, I'm learning about myself. And when I'm learning about myself, I want to share it with you ladies. So it
Mm-hmm.
accelerated my learning curve because I became a passionate student of life. I became a passionate student of spirituality. I became a passionate student about resiliency, not knowing that the two main characters in my life I would lose my mother and my firstborn to cancer. You
Mm.
talk about a kick in the gut,
Right.
and you don't know how to deal with it, and you just keep going and you just keep showing up and you never deal with it. So I do a lot of grief ministry. Didn't plan on that. But you should never seek support from people that have not experienced a level of gone through a crucible, gone through the fire, gone through some type of testing of character. And so I understood that my moments of going through this crucible, this moment, this crushing, these moments when you think, I'm not going to survive this. And you do, and you say, oh, now I know what they mean by the grace of God. It was just a word on a piece of paper before, but now that I'm sitting here talking to you, Melinda, and I am totally sane. I have joy. I have made peace with my past, with my mistakes. I have made peace with the things that I lacked in my grooming as a child, as a mother, as a wife, as a parent. I've made peace with my realities that I need to deal with now in this
Mm-hmm.
stage of my life. Um, I feel I feel a sense of courage that I never knew I would have. And
Mm.
I'm very courageous. I remember one time I joined a church and I must have shared something. I must have shared something about me. And somebody came up to me. She said, you've been a long sufferer. I said, huh? I never saw myself as a sufferer. I thought I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize that I had been suffering because we learn how to smile. We learn how to mask up instead of armor up. It's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that
Mm-hmm.
was good.
What's the difference? What's the difference between
Okay,
masking
okay.
and armoring?
Masking is pretending. I don't want you to see my sadness. I don't want you to see my hurt. I don't want you to see my insecurities. I don't want you to see my fears. I don't want you to see my shame. But armoring up is that's what when the Bible when it says put on your shield, it it protects the heart. Put on the helmet that protects the mind. Shod
Mm.
your feet means that watch where you're going. As a young
Mm.
person, you just say you can go anywhere and do anything. No, you can't, baby. You need to be careful where you're walking. You need to
Mm.
guard your
Mhm.
heart because the
Mhm.
evil that exists, the darkness of the world is there. And it's very subtle. Darkness is subtle.
Right.
Traps are subtle.
Mm.
Manipulation is subtle.
Mm.
Love bombing is subtle. So I
Mm.
teach in relationships about love bombing and about manipulation and abuse and neediness and wearing this desperation perfume. So when you guard your heart, when things come at you, it can't penetrate because you've armored up like I know who I am. I ain't
Mm.
taking it. Nope.
Mhm.
I'm not going to be taken out. I will still stand. I may kind of limp a little bit, but
Right.
so Solomon said, guard your heart. So what I love doing, Melinda, is teaching the word of God from a different kind of perspective. As you know, I'm really a wordsmith, and I
Mm.
like bringing those words into the now and say, well, what does that mean? Iron sharpen iron. What does that mean? Guard your heart. What does that mean? We reap what we sow. Instead of looking at it from a negative point of view, you're going to reap what you sow. That's
Right.
a sin type of a concept. Like you're a bad person. No, I'm going to reap what I sow. If I do good things, I'm going to get good things. It's
Mm.
going to come back to me. So I
Mhm.
sow goodness and I sow kindness and you sow good behavior and you sow good choices and you sow education and you sow into your life. So then you're going to reap good things.
Mhm. Karma is what some cultures call it.
And people get caught up with these words.
Mhm. Mm.
Oh, karma. No, the Bible says reaping and sowing is a law. It's a law. Cause and effect, it's a law.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
we get caught up on words.
Hmm. Yeah, especially in especially in religious culture, and that's why I came from religious culture. I'm still in religious culture. Religious culture, I think, is
Mhm.
only that we had to hold on to as the descendants of the enslaved, because it had to be that way. Spiritual practices had to be one way, and that was the Christian faith or Catholic faith. And so that's religious, and that's all we had. And what I love what you're doing is that you're helping us broaden our perspective so that we can receive a deeper understanding and a deeper compassion of who we are and our lineage. And then once we do that, we can really step into our power and start to shorten the gap, I think, between generations that are holding on to the old language of the dogma that we were
Mhm.
speaking of, and those that are trying to figure out another way to be, but still hold on to those principles, because those principles do mean something.
Yeah, principles
We're
are important.
covered. Yeah,
Principles
I think they're
are
just
important.
covered.
But you see, I have a challenge because I came to the crossroad of I understand the ancestors had to have faith. They had to believe that there was a heaven, that this is hell on earth. They had to have hope and pray that life was better, and it was certainly wasn't going to happen on the plantation. But then I say, but do you know your history? Do you know who the Catholics that they were? That was slavery came from that. So it's like, okay, how do we reconcile that? It's like
Yes.
if you don't know your history, do you understand that? Oh, I know this is the dangerous territory I'm getting into, but when you start studying history and the history of slavery and mm, how the church enslaved and how the church, was built on greed and land and ownership, and how they could use religion to keep people with a mindset that they're not worthy, that they're not human, that they're to serve others, that they couldn't have anything. It's like, how do you reconcile all of that? And so I honor my elders who have a very structured religious mindset, and they don't dare think anything different. I respect it. Okay. Because guess what, Melinda? A way, we all have a survival strategy.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. If you worked on the sugar fields, the cotton fields, the tobacco fields, you had to have a survival strategy. How are we going to get through this?
Right.
How are we going to survive?
Yes.
And so now we're here in 2023 and we have to figure out a survival strategy. Do I work for somebody else, or do I become self-employed? Do I stay in an abusive relationship, or do I take the risk of launching out and be on my own? Do I avoid relationships because everything I saw in my family was toxic and dysfunctional, so I don't want to be in a relationship? Or what is my survival? Do I just take care of me, or do I become community minded? What is my survival?
Hmm.
Um, do I talk about people that eat a certain way when that's all that they had, or do I beat them over the head and say, well, guess what? You shouldn't be eating this, you shouldn't be eating that, or do I just respect?
Meet them where they are.
Meet them where they
Understand.
are,
Yeah. Yeah.
and know that this is a progressive empowerment. Means that you continue to gain information, you continue to gain so that you can see clearly, you can see differently than what they saw. And so I'm so happy that you have this great passion to talk about the ancestors. And I was thinking, um, when my grandson visits, his last visit, um, I went to go clean out the bathtub, and his little footprints. He's a boy, so he loves being in the dirt, and his little footprints were in the bathtub. And I'm like, I don't want to wash away his footprints. And I thought, that's the same thing. I don't want to wash away my mother's footprints. I don't want to wash away. And I think that when we don't honor our ancestors, we are erasing their footprints.
Mm. Mm.
We're erasing it. And we need to remember their footprints.
Yes.
You went to the door of no return. You
Mm.
know, I have been places and I get different pieces of history that I didn't get in school. And those pieces of history that were ripped out of my school books, it startles me. It's like, oh my God, nobody told me this. Oh my God, look at the greed for land and gold and diamonds and power. Look what it's done to people. Look what capitalism. Look at what how the health industry has just is poisoning us.
Yes.
Look at the economy, and you fight to stay optimistic and hopeful and prayerful. And then you say, wait a minute, I'm standing on the shoulders of people that dealt with much worse than this.
Much
And if
worse.
they did it, I can do it. So
That's
I'm not going to erase their footprints.
Yes, the power that it holds. And to your point, when I stood at the door of no return in West Africa, in the dungeons where our ancestors did
Mm,
not return from, um,
yes,
I am the returning of the ancestors.
yes,
In the
yeah,
moment, I was like, wow, I am the survivor. I am my ancestors' wildest dream. So to be upset or to be caught up, I mean, I have a right to be caught up over the injustices of this culture, but I have to understand that I don't want to sweat the small stuff because look at what I've and look at what they endured, allowed me to endure now. And then how can I bring it forward? How can I bring
yes.
their legacy forward? And I get caught up in the rituals of America. I get caught up in the rituals of um, playing. I don't watch sports, but I watch people get caught up in the sports,
I
get
know.
caught up to the bars and drinking, get caught up in
That's
those.
their survival strategy. That it's a distraction. It's the
Oh,
survival. It numbs them from feeling the pain of life. So we need those are distractions, you know. And
okay.
as you were talking about that, I was thinking how, oh my God, I had a thought and it just escaped me. But being privy to touch history in the way that you've touched it, and I've touched it, I've been there too, um, is humbling.
Yeah.
It's humbling. And I say, great God, great divine, great mystery, I thank you that I didn't have to live through that.
Right.
I thank you. I'm living through my own stuff, my own, thing, issues of life, but I believe that I can endure it. I believe that you've wired me. I believe that I could turn my pain into a purpose. I believe that I don't have to stay stuck in my anger because the anger is what causes um, sickness in our body.
Mm-hmm.
It can mobilize us, but it could also paralyze us.
Mm,
So when you talked about justice, and that I'm glad there are people like you that are on that platform. That's not my platform. You have
mm,
to know what your platform is. So
mhm,
I pour out a lot of energy on my particular platform so that people could be strong enough to move to their platform, whatever it's going to be. you
yeah.
know. And I acknowledge in people like you and others that are waving that flag, like, no, 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 nope. I'm like, go ahead, do you,
Mm,
boo? Because, and people say, how do you do what you do? I don't know. I don't know how I do this. I just know that it's my calling. I,
mhm,
I feel like I was born for this.
mhm,
And I'm humbled by it because I get to meet people like you. I get to meet women trust me, Melinda, with their stories.
mm,
I'm like, my God, that's some heavy, deep stuff I hear from women. And they need that repository
mm,
because they leave lightened. Because
mhm,
we are as sick as our secrets. We are. And when we walk around masking, we never can armor up because stuff is going to come at you and you don't know how to deal with it because you're acting like, oh, I'm good, I'm blessed, I'm highly favored, and you're masking up and you're not dealing with your pain. You're not dealing with the discomforts of life. You're not dealing with the disappointments. You're not dealing with the heartaches of life because we were fed fairy tales. I was fed fairy tales.
mhm,
And when I slapped up against the reality of marriage and parenting and being a grieving person and being a leader and handling money and establishing credit and buying this and going here and dealing with personalities, it was like nobody told me I wasn't ready for all this.
mm,
So we circle back to why it is wonderful to be around elders and other women that are sharing their stories, sharing their testimonies. So you can say, oh, okay. I get it now. Oh, okay. She did it, I can do it. Oh, okay. No, God's not picking on me. Oh, okay. I'm not a bad person. Oh, okay. I can connect the dots and realize why I have these issues because of what I saw, what was modeled in front of me, what I didn't get, or what I got too much of. And so you start putting these pieces together and you're able to take yourself off the hook and you can take your parents off the hook.
Yes, that compassion that they're people. They are people too.
That didn't
Going
have
through the
my
same.
mother never got to go on a retreat.
Right.
My mother never got to go. No, my grandmother, I never saw her smile. Everybody said, oh, she was mean. She was mean. We don't know why she was mean.
Right.
She might have been sexually violated. She may have had mental issues. She may have felt like she was denied her own life, her own career. Women were forced into take not only raising their children, but other people's children,
First, raising them first. Right.
raising the community. My maternal grandmother, yeah, my grandmother was a sister who came and took care of her sister's children when she died. So then she raised her
Oh,
children and then she had her own children. So my mother came from two sets of children from two different sisters.
wow.
And that's not probably uncommon. If there's nobody around, you come raise these kids.
Right, right.
And
Because
out of convenience or whatever, she was given shelter. But I can imagine there might have been some resentment.
right, right,
I could imagine women looking at other women and saying, I want to do that. I want to dress like that. I want freedom. I want to, and they couldn't do it.
right,
And here we are, a generation, we've got so many choices. In fact, when you have too many choices, you don't know what to choose because you got too many choices.
right. Paralyzes you.
It's just paralyzed. I don't know what to do. I can't make a decision. That's because you got too many choices.
Right.
What do you think is a great takeaway from today's let's talk about it?
Okay. So some of the things that really hit home to me and that I hope the viewers are able to take away, which I think we've lost in our culture, is being it's okay to connect with the ancestors. Ancestors is not a scary bad word.
No.
It just means those that poured into us so that we can be who we are today. Because of them, we are.
Yes. I
And
like that.
honoring them and remember them. Another thing that I heard and took away and experienced at your retreat was the importance of community, multi-generational community,
Yeah.
and hearing their stories so that
Oh,
I could see myself in them and then also move forward and grow.
mm-hmm.
Um, and then the last thing that I heard and I'm taking away from is it's really important to get to the core of the pain so that
Yes.
we can forgive and grow also,
And not repeat it. And not repeat it.
okay, and not repeat it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I hear a lot of stories where women will say, well, there was no marriages in our family. I know one young lady, she said, none of the women in our family were married. And
Hmm.
then I hear someone say, well, I was told that I would always be poor and I'll never own a house.
Wow.
And she was able to dispel that myth and that false prophecy and say, oh, no, I'm breaking that. I'm
Uh-huh.
breaking that cycle. So we need to remember things. We need to remember what was spoken into our lives and what was modeled for us and say, is that what I want to have continue in my life? Or am I willing to break that, what we call strongholds? It doesn't have to
Mm.
be. Okay, so she was an addict or she was an alcoholic or that doesn't mean you're going to do it too because you live in another generation of information and opportunities and possibilities. But when you're, as you say, stuck and you're married to a story or a script and you don't see the possibilities, that's where people like me come in, is to open up your mind to see new possibilities, that you're not dishonoring your family. Because what happens that I found in my coaching sessions is women have the struggle between, oh, I'm kind of alienated from my family because I chose not to be on food stamps. I'm being alienated from my family because they think I'm better than them. Oh, I'm being alienated because they think, oh, you think you're better than us. Or I'm being alienated because they think, you have so much joy and you have so much self-worth, and they're still locked into their sense of not enough, that gap and division can be very scary for some people to elevate, to evolve, to grow, because we want to belong. We
Yes.
don't. We want to belong, and so
Right.
I have found, Melinda, that I have a lot of family that don't come to my events. We don't have the same outlook or worldview, and it's okay. I created my own family. I created my own village. I created my own tribe. I think it's important and so that helps others to understand. I'm not gonna sit and tell you it's gonna be easy. It wasn't easy. We do this dance back and forth, back and forth. I want to belong. No, but I think differently. I want to belong. They're gonna talk about me, huh? And this push and this pull. And if you help people understand, it's gonna be uncomfortable. You're gonna be talked about. You may be left out of the class, the reunion. You may be left out. But at some point, we have to choose self. At
Right.
some point, we have to honor what God has created us to be, and to understand that it's not always about blood, it's about vision and gifts and values,
Mm.
choices and decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody tells us these things. When I saw children watching cartoons where the women were now heroes, and they were doctors. They were not Cinderella waiting to be saved. They weren't Snow White waiting for somebody to kiss them and wake them up. I started watching these little cartoons. And I'm like, that little girl's a doctor. Look at that little girl. She's not worried about getting married. Look at
Mm-hmm.
that little girl. She's over there fighting. And I'm like, we never saw that. It wasn't modeled for me. So each generation is going to have to break down some of the myths and the models that were presented to them and say, you know what? That was for that time. But I'm feeling something stirring in me. And even the word of God says, stir up the gift that is in you.
Mm.
And when you stir it up, guess what? You're going to be stirred up a lot of things that are not going to be comfortable. But to let it sit at the bottom of the pot, what a waste. I want to be totally empty when make my transition. I want to give it all that I got.
Mm.
Well,
Mm.
I still give it.
A
But some
lifelong.
people have not stirred up the pot. Oh, they're going to talk about me. Oh, it's going to cost. Oh, I can do something different. Oh, I'm going to be meeting new people. Yeah, stir it up. Somebody's waiting for your gift.
Yes, that's why I believe that's how we're designed. We're designed for this.
Yes.
We're designed to share our gifts. And unless we go deep within ourselves and do the healing, then that gift really can express fully. And I feel like people need help. And that's why that's why we connect so well.
Yeah.
That's our purpose. We help people through the transition in different ways. So do you want to share what you have going on to help others? And then I'll do the same after you're
Oh,
done.
yeah. They need to hear what you do. Well, I have wear many different hats. I'm often a keynote speaker all across the nation and the globe. Asked to speak as a keynote. I write books. I offer one-on-one life coaching. I'm what they call a talk therapy practitioner. I produce events all year round. So you're just coming off the heels of our annual Women on the Grow retreat. We already have the dates for next year. And in between that, I'm doing other types of events where women can come and connect and be empowered, and just deepen the roots of our tribe. We welcome other people. This is not a closed. When I say tribe, we're not saying it's closed. No, we welcome new energy, the diversity of women. We welcome that. We love stirring up all these gifts, and so I invite our audience to go to my websites. One is jeweldiamondtaylor.com. The other is thewomenonthegrow.com. And there people can leave a donation, a tax deductible donation, because the two pillars of Women on the Grow is to be an outreach to women that are hurting, be it cancer, depression, trauma, single parenting, caregiving exhaustion, being displaced out of their home or not having a job. And the other pillar is to produce programs to strengthen women to be able to cope with adversity, to rise above, to be resilient, to sharpen the iron, to stir up their gifts. So that's what I do, and I love it.
Mm-hmm. You do it so well. It's so subtle too. The accountability that you offer is so subtle, and it falls on a space of love. And so I admire that and been taking notes as I help people and I support them and gentle accountability through their healing from different health conditions.
Mm,
So yeah, I really admire how you help people, but also hold them accountable for their
yeah.
life, for
And
their
so the
life.
health conditions, don't I understand that those health conditions that you kind of target, or is it diabetes?
Yes, I have three areas right now that I'm focusing on. Diabetes is one of them, primarily type 2, but if someone's living with type 1, I also am trained to support them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then the second one that I'm growing in right now and excited to be working with people that are living, that are on dialysis. So
Mm-hmm.
60% of people that have diabetes end up on dialysis, which is when your kidneys fail and a machine has to process the toxins out your body, something your kidneys would do, but they no longer are functioning. So
Right.
it could be a tough life because people have to go to dialysis centers 3 times a week, usually 3 hours a day. It's a big commitment. That's just to stay alive. So I'm supporting those people. 30% of people that have high blood pressure, which is very rampant in our community, will have to be on dialysis. So that's a passion of mine right now. And I have a group of women that I'm supporting that have just finished cancer treatment, and we're creating the life that they want to not only reduce the risk of cancer coming back, but live the life of their dreams, the healthy life of their dreams. Really, cancer will put things in perspective quickly. And so
Mm-hmm.
you were
So
looking
when
for
you
this.
say you support them, does that mean it's a spiritual, emotional support, or is it through the diet? Is it through transportation? Is it through change of lifestyle? How do you mean that
That's a
you
good
support?
question. That's a
Yeah.
good question. I support them by applying this wellness program called, it's the original wellness program of our ancestors, and it's called Ancestral Wisdom 4 Pillars of Health Program. And
Come on.
we look at how our ancestors lived. And this
See?
movement is around the world with all indigenous folks from all walks of culture use these 4 simple pillars that you spoke about naturally in your event, which is around nutrition, food is medicine, the importance of community, giving and receiving in community, because some people just take, some people just give, but there needs to be reciprocity. Um,
Right.
the healing properties of nature, there's so much research on that. And then movement and dance, because so much
Yes.
research.
So
So
it was just organically flowing through me at the retreat because I understand the power, of moving bodies and putting your feet in the ocean and looking at the trees and looking at the stars and walking the labyrinth and laughing and dancing and yeah, understanding food and how it is medicine. So wow, I feel really good about how we are in alignment in a way that I didn't know.
I
And
love
so that's an example to me of how when you follow your gifts, these things are revealed to you. You don't even know that it's shaping you. You don't even know that because you've opened yourself up for this information that it just comes to you. So it wasn't through a textbook, it was just organic that when I get women together, that I want to create this atmosphere of love and fun and relaxation and detoxing and connecting and networking. That's always been a part of who I am. So you're helping me to see that really, I want to be more intentional with it. And I guess I always have been. And you're the first person to help me see that.
Oh wow. I'm so impressed because now the universities, so you have an honorary doctorate. Now the universities are noticing that there is you get your book education, you get these letters behind your name.
Mhm.
But now they're recognizing lived experience, and that
Right.
lived experience is just as valid as going through the courses and learning and having to apply it. And so I believe that when you have a calling, the divine drops that experience in
Yes,
you, then you
yes,
share it. And it's just as valid as some of those folks that went through all those years. Actually, I feel like it's more valid because you're able to share your actual experience and see how it's applied. Because some professors, they talk the textbook, but unfortunately, they haven't had the time because they've been in school for so long to
right.
actually share how it's applied.
Yeah,
So,
it's more clinical. It's more clinical. And we need both. So
yeah.
wow, I love the synergy of our relationship and I look forward to us continuing these conversations. This is so oh my God, it's so wonderful to tap in and to be able sometimes I fall short of really expressing what I'm feeling, but you have been able to help me to, bring that out, because sometimes I'm a little guarded because I don't want to hit people over the head, and I don't want people to think that I do not honor God, or that I do not honor tradition and the way we have been socialized to live. But I just want to facilitate people to the idea of being open to growth, and being open to knowing their history, and being open to knowing themselves.
Mm.
Who are you really? What do you really want to do? What really keeps you up at night? What is that thing that won't let you go? And give yourself permission to follow that gift. So, this has been a very titillating conversation, my dear. Thank you so much.
Always, always. I'm so grateful for you. And Lord willing, divine, the ancestors continue to allow us to provide this information and share with
Yeah,
the community, with the hope, the intention that we continue these conversations within our own community, so we can continue to grow and build and understand where we come from. And to me, it's really to get rid of some of the layers of American culture that's not serving us, that we think is
yeah,
ours, and it's not. It's
yeah.
capitalism. It's
Exactly, exactly,
capitalism. So
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So let us close by inviting our audience to please share the video, please share this conversation, and please email us if you have a question. If there's something that you say, "Oh my God, I wish they would." It's not that we have all the answers. We just want to provide the platform where we could have these kitchen table conversations, and just like distill it, and figure out what is your strategy for survival, and is it working? Is it something that you want to model for others? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, audience, just reach out to us with your questions and your comments. Okay. Your feedback. We sure would appreciate it.
Yes. And if you have any questions, like you said, questions, we'll definitely address them in our
Yeah.
conversations here. So,
Yeah.
yeah, with that said, blessings. Thank
And
you.
to you, my dear,
Thank
stay in the
you.
light.
I love it. Stay in the light.